What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, for years, my channels like mine, have been referring to the saga that comes after the Multiverse saga as the Mutant saga, because we knew, and from a long time ago with the acquisition of the Fox X-Men, that's when Kevin Feige and co were aiming to do a recast and introduce a fresh take in the X-Men reboot. That's been confirmed in pre-development, with writers submitting all the way back in 2022 for the original script. Fast forward, here we are today, closing in on the end of said Multiverse saga, and in just 3 short years, we're going to find ourselves in the beginning of Phase 7, supposedly with an X-Men reboot. But this is where things get super interesting, with recent reports coming from trusted industry insider sources that the next saga might not be a mutant saga at all, and in fact, given one quote from a different trusted industry insider, it really recontextualizes what we can expect from this next saga, the end of the Multiverse saga, and of course the ending of Avengers Secret Wars. We're breaking it all down, Phase 7 and beyond, and what the real new saga is for the MCU. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel. Thanks to everyone who's been helping grow the channel again at a breakneck pace, and if you haven't subbed already, I would just kindly invite you to do so. It's the best way to support us here at the channel, plus it'll keep you up to date with all of the videos and enter you for the giveaways. Stick around at the end of the video, we get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so in an article actually released earlier today by the site comicbasics.com with the headline, "Fresh reports uncover major clues about the MCU's future after Secret Wars, next saga described as very dark." They go on to reference 2 specific industry insiders, their reports of what's going on with Marvel Studios, and while one of them is actually from last year and we covered it a bit at the channel when the book was released, another is from real recently, and they paint a picture of a very different take on what to expect in Marvel's Phase 7, 8, and 9, a soft reboot for the MCU that leads to a supernatural saga. The first is Joanna Robinson, who wrote the book The Reign of Marvel Studios. In it, she reveals a lot from industry insiders who spoke candidly and on the record, but anonymously, about the going-ons behind the scenes at Marvel Studios. Now, in this article, they reference a specific quote from Joanna Robinson, again, about Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and his plan to quote-unquote clean up everything with Secret Wars. This is what the quote says, quote, "We have a quote from Kevin Feige sort of implying that, like Secret Wars, will serve as a soft reboot in which they can prune everything that's not a Lokiism, prune everything that's not working, and just keep what's working and bring back people they thought were gone forever." Now, if you've kept up with videos at the channel, you'll know that this idea of a soft reboot doesn't mean that they're cleaning house and getting rid of everyone who's been in the Multiverse saga or the Infinity Saga, especially for huge actors and characters that just joined the MCU, and I'm specifically referencing the Fantastic Four. In fact, we just heard reports that a Fantastic Four 2 might be in the works already for Phase 7, but all of this at face value. Brad Winderbaum, the vice president over at Marvel Studios, the president of TV, film, and animation, and the guy that I think would be first in line to replace Kevin Feige if Kevin Feige ever decided to leave, he specifically said that in his experience, reboots just don't work, and he pointed to the 2 or 3 times it's happened with DC Comics, and he said it just never ever worked out the way that they planned. He seems to be against reboots altogether, so this term soft reboot seems to be more of how the fandom and or the journalism surrounding Marvel Studios has referred to what's coming with Secret Wars. Joanna Robinson is specifically using it, though, to say, hey, they're going to leave some things that didn't work in the past, and we know what that means. That means taking C-tier level publishing characters and trying to push them to Disney Plus, only to find out that they were C-tier publishing characters in the first place because they didn't sell a lot of comics. People really weren't that interested, and they really weren't that interested again when they are on Disney Plus. Now, where does that leave us? Well, they go on to reference the next quote coming from industry insider Alex Perez over at the Cosmic Circus, and if you're not familiar with their editorial, they've been in the game for quite some time and an accurate source of information. He went on to say specifically that the next saga might explore the magic side of the MCU and, quote, be very dark, very demonic, and something out of a Guillermo del Toro fever dream. And this isn't the first time we've heard this. Rumors have said that we might explore many themes in the next saga. It's not going to be all about mutants, that they're going to explore the cosmic side and the supernatural side, and it seems like at some point Marvel was leaning into that. Werewolf by Night was definitely the first to kick off many of the characters in the supernatural corner of the MCU, and Blade, presumably if it had ever been made, would have looked to have done the same, and we're about to get some more building blocks for that still with the upcoming Ironheart that's going to introduce the Hood and maybe even Mephisto into the MCU. If you missed our last video on that, check back from earlier last week. What's even crazier is that with the news from the Hollywood Reporter that Jon Bernthal was officially joining Spider-Man Brand New Day, everybody looked back to a report a month or so ago from industry insider Jeff Snyder, who we talk about all the time at the channel, the guy who nailed Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom. A month ago, they were talking about Punisher teaming up with Spidey to take on the Savage Hulk, and that even Mephisto might be in that movie as well. And it could very well be the case that Marvel Studios is setting up Mephisto before we sidetrack into Avengers Secret Wars. I shouldn't say sidetrack until they make the main stage Avengers Secret Wars, and he'll be hanging around after Secret Wars ready to enact his plan that'll ultimately lead into what we think is going to be the Midnight Suns film. Now, Daniel RPK, trusted industry insider source, was the one telling us about Midnight Suns 2 years ago. He actually reported that project was on hold at the same time earlier this year that all of the big budget projects on Marvel Studios went on hold, but also said last week it is back in full pre-development. They're pushing forward with a Midnight Suns movie, and we've talked about this. That seems like the consolation for keeping Mahershala Ali around instead of not leaving the Blade role. Hey, look, we'll do Blade, we'll also do Midnight Suns. You're going to get 2 movies when we finally get around to it. And all of this supernatural talk definitely bodes well for Blade finally getting made, because that would basically be the main feeder project into the creation of Midnight Suns. And for a film that hasn't figured out what to do with that character, why not just make the Midnight Suns formation the actual plot of the film, the way Captain America Brave New World should have been Sam assembling a new Avengers? Man, it really makes me scratch my head sometimes why they find it so hard to make these films. I actually have 3 or 4 decent pitches for what I think would be an amazing Blade movie. We can talk about those another time, but you guys let me know all your thoughts down below in reaction to any and all of this. And I think the real interesting part is, where do the X-Men fit into a supernatural saga? As Kevin Feige had already said, he had a 10-year plan for the X-Men. What could that possibly lead to? I am so curious which saga they're going to pick for the X-Men, and only because we know that they're probably lining up Age of Apocalypse for the X-Men animated show, and Dark Phoenix is probably off the table because of the previous 2 attempts. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below quickly. Let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Alright, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel. The next one is just next week for Ironheart's drop, and then we've got one the next month for Fantastic Four. If you want to be entered to win, or for any of the future giveaways at the channel, all you got to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will always be announced at the end of videos, the same place we're doing here, live with my voice, and the winning comment shown on screen when there is one, so please be safe and vigilant. And if you should ever get some spam of someone impersonating a content creator anywhere on the platform, just report that comment directly to YouTube. They're very swift about deleting those accounts. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places: Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes under the name AllFires. And while I would sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.